and welcome everyone to this special episode of the Really Is Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Edwards. Alongside me, we have Paola Santana, the founder and CEO of Social Glass. Paola, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me in the midst of this hectic global summit.
It's hectic. It's an intelligence summit.
It is.
And today we're going to be talking about super intelligent governance. How does one get involved in super intelligent governance?
Well, you start identifying problems that are often overlooked in government, how governments operate, and then you realize that number one, we have technology to make government operations run more efficiently and be shorter and better decisions. And then you're like, okay, this makes no sense that it's not working. So how can I accelerate how governments make X or Y function? And how can I do that today? So it's a matter of understanding and being exposed to exponential technologies. That's what you come and do here at the Global Summit. You understand what this virtual reality or augmented reality can do for your specific business, or how can that orthogonally affect whatever you do. And then you also learn from, any big major trend that is going to impact or change your business. And then you say, how can I apply that to the world's greatest challenge that I'm trying to solve? And in my case, that's government.
Well, how have you been exposed? You've been exposed to new technologies. You also have experience in governance. Can you explain to our audience, your background in this and how you came up with the idea of Social Glass?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm a lawyer. I have background in public policy and public procurement, and I came to the United States with a Fulbright scholarship to Washington, D.C. to observe governments and understand what was the future of governments. After my master's, I kind of, I felt we could do more, and I was trying to understand which system is bringing change much faster than politics and governance. And I discovered technology, came to Silicon Valley, came to Singularity University, and discovered drones. Created this first company called Matternet, that is one of the early pioneers in drone delivery networks. And from there, it's been a matter of what specific type of industry I'm going to leapfrog. So with the first one, Matternet has 8 years operating. It's been invested by Mercedes-Benz and Boeing. So it's a company that it's a great manufacturer of technology that is leapfrogging road infrastructure in places where roads don't work quite well due to, poor decision making by governments, or it just doesn't work because it hasn't scaled to what we need in our cities and mega cities. But that was for transportation. Now is how can I help governments make better decisions altogether, not just in transportation, but also in healthcare, in education, in good sanitation systems, etc. And that's what we're doing with Social Glass. And the idea was pretty obvious to me coming from government. It was just observing that many of the things I was doing, I could do them better, faster, and also help my colleagues that are in government to use all of their abilities. Because contrary to what many people think, some of the most highly educated and committed people to serve their countries work in government. So the question is, how can we help these people by giving them tools so they can do their job faster, better, so they can augment all the willingness and the good service that they already provide.
And I think the most important thing I got that was you look to leapfrog these industries, these services, especially passing one of the first laws to do drone delivery in some states. Like, that's incredible. Now you're focusing on the government. Just like you mentioned earlier, a lot of people think the governments tend to be very slow. How do you intend to leapfrog the government? And when you're speaking on augmenting it, what do you mean?
So a couple of very quick points. We didn't pass regulation on drone delivery. We were able to, here in the US, pass regulation on drone usage.
On drone usage.
So, because that was the first step. And then the second step was that could we have some exceptions that allowed us to do drone delivery in certain cases? And then after that is about, for all these type of cases where the trade-off of using drones, even though it's very risky, but the reward is saving a life or delivering, blood or an organ or diagnostic to understand what's wrong with this person. So, for those type of cases, let's make this the law and not the exception. So, everything has a stage that it needs to go through. And the main reason is because government has a big mandate that is to protect their countries, to protect airspace, to keep things working. People take for granted things that work. Things that work, we had a shutdown, a government shutdown. And people take for granted that budgets work.
Right,
no,
yeah.
they just don't work. They need to be approved. They need to be checked. They need to be amended. We need to understand where we're putting our taxpayers' money to work. So, no, the world needs some stuff. So for the world to operate, it needs to have some people operate in that world. And governments do that. The question is, how can we allow government to do the daily job and to look into the future so they can continue improving? How can they do those two things at the same time? You're a person. How difficult it is for you to change your routine?
Pretty difficult. Yeah, I'm stuck in my routines.
Yeah, and then government is not different.
Right.
So imagine a bunch of people together trying to agree and then move forward towards something. Doesn't that sound
I must
difficult?
have something very motivational in my life to change my life cycles. Then I do that.
Yeah, and we all need inspiration. We all need that spark. We all need people that say, let's go and do this or let's try this. We all need people that is not risk averse. And then we need the other people counterbalancing us saying, we can do that, but it cannot be at the cost of forgetting to run what we need to get done today. So that's the beauty of the balance that we need to have with government. And to be honest, I am in the government future business, if you want to call it like that. Like, I want to build infrastructure for governments to operate seamlessly and effortlessly and at the highest efficiency. But for me to be able to be thinking about the future, I have to be very, very grateful for the people that today make government work. And it's been a realization I've had the more I go to Washington, D.C., and the more I work and talk to government people doing operations today. I'm like, thank you for doing that. How can I help you do your job better? And it's interesting because when we start talking to government people, they're like, oh, you wanted me to start geeking out about all my problems? I'm like, yeah, I want to listen about all your problems because I want to help you do this faster, do this better. And it's almost like a relief for them. So I think nobody has tapped into creating category-defining solutions and category-defining experiences for government. And that's what we want to tap into. We want to make government meaningful again, relevant again, and super cool again. Why? I mean, there is definitely people that love government and that love public service. I'm one of those. And I want to make it cool for me to wake up every morning and say, okay, how are we going to get this done? So I think many more people is interested in that, and the question is how we can tap into that so we build that government of the future.
Well, Paola, let's help our fellow United States constituents conceptualize your e-commerce platform and the tech that you're installing into these government systems. Could you walk our audience through an example of how this solution works?
Yes, absolutely. So we are building what we say is a software ecosystem of government products. So imagine like a Google Suite.
Right.
It has different products and
Mail, maps,
yeah, projects, purchasing, HR, budgeting. And the first product of that ecosystem is a marketplace for governments. So governments buy many stuff, and some of those stuffs are direct purchases, like anything under $10,000 or $5,000 is what we call the micro purchase threshold. So anything under that threshold, governments can buy it without paperwork or bids. And the question is, can we help, since you are doing that in a very, I would say, streamlined fashion, can I make it super fast? Can I curate the suppliers? Can I make it super easy for a supplier with 3 clicks to create an online store and start selling to government without adding more sales representative or without having to comply with 14 million different things? That is what adds up.
Right.
So if I make it super simple for every small business, 27 million small businesses in the US to start selling to government with 3 clicks, and if I make it super easy for a government employee to come to a platform and be able to compare prices in real time and to filter by women-owned, veteran-owned, local business and whatnot, and apply any filter they want and click, and know that that supplier has been curated and that we have verified that they have an active license or that they have their Secretary of State license in place. And the only thing they need to do is if this thing shows up on my results, is because I can make a fully legal compliant purchase with reduced hours of process for them to check and vet these suppliers. And we also do the delivery or even on-demand delivery. So if it's something that you need in an emergency situation, you can get it delivered right away. So that's the first product, is a government marketplace for micro purchases, where governments can buy goods or services or rentals in an on-demand fashion from curated suppliers. So it's something that sounds a no-brainer, but governments are the biggest purchasers in the world, but they don't have this. So this is the first product we're creating.
And it sounds like for any successful business, it saves people your most valuable resource, which is time. And that's really what you're doing. And I have to imagine that you're collecting a lot of data on this. You're going to be able to predict what people want. You can explain to our audience what the vision is behind this whole entire ecosystem.
Absolutely, and you just tapped into the bigger vision. The bigger vision is for us to simplify every single government operation. Small operation, a $10,000 operation, we make it fast, we simplify it and make it fully legal. We're saving time from that government employee, and this government employee is making an amazing decision in record time, because we're aggregating so many data points of what government is buying, how often, historical pricing data, some prediction models on what should government be buying depending on what time of the year it is. We are able to gather all this information and provide some results that are unmatched by humans. Like a human would call 5 or 10 suppliers and figure out the best pricing. They cannot do that, matching our system doing that with 1 million data points and saying, these are your top 3 options. Choose the one that matches what you want to get done in your agency today. And this is where the augmenting the data is. Data is there, but a human needs to make the final decision. Why? Because the human is the end decision maker in any system that needs creativity. And we need creativity in government. We don't need just to say, like, you can do these 3 purchases and they're the same price. But this one is from a women-owned business, and she's providing 5 years of warranty. And she has an outstanding performance review. So this is better value for taxpayers' money.
Right.
These are the type of decisions that the machine cannot do alone. So we need a human setting up the system to pull up that data, and then the human being able to say, this is the best optimal decision for this specific agency in this specific moment.
Well, Paola, the government, obviously, they have to make big, important decisions. You yourself are making big, important decisions as well. You've already set a clear vision. You're saving people time. It takes a lot of leadership. So, Paola, the last question I have for you today is, what is your definition of a real leader?
It's someone that is strong enough to hold a vision and to bring clarity to the table for herself and others that need to follow and need to understand what to execute. It's the person that is vulnerable enough, flexible enough, and open enough to ask questions, to listen, to pivot with strength and responsibility when that's needed. And it's also someone with the biggest strength and determination to get something done, knowing that things that have been not nailed yet is because someone hasn't been there to make sure they get nailed. Nothing in the world gets done if there's not someone for a long time trying to get them done. That's what we say in Silicon Valley. An overnight success takes 7 years. It takes 7 years for a breakthrough. And to have the breakthrough and then implement the breakthrough, and then one day it's obvious, and then like, oh, it's obvious. No, it wasn't obvious. The implementation wasn't obvious. I worked on it. I had the leadership to go after it. I had the openness to pivot until we nail it. And then I had the persistence to stay 7 years on it. And for me, that's what true leadership is about. And I'm trying to develop that for this organization.
Openness, drive, perseverance. If you don't know the real Paola Santana, now you know. Paola, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Paola Santana, I'm Kevin Edwards, telling you all to keep it real.